Hello everyone, my name is Alex Bannister and I'm here to show you a mechanic that I've made for the game Tournamental. The mechanic is called Level God, which is inspired by the game Baba Is You, and here it is. What the mechanic is able to push these blocks around to create sentences. So these blocks I can't interact with them. These blue ones, which are the blue and purple blocks, I'm not able to move them or interact with them. And the blue ones are made stop because of this is block, which makes it a sentence. It says purple block is stop or blue block is stop. So if I move this and then move this green block to complete this sentence, now blue block is push. So now I can push all the blue blocks. And then if I want to get through these three up here, I can move this push out the way. And now I'm able to walk through all of the blue ones. But since there is no wind in this level, what I am going to do is set purple to win. And I could walk there, but just to show off what I was doing, walk through here and then get to the win. So what I had to do to make the mechanic was, first I started off, I had to make an enumerator and give it, put my effects down. So I started with the push, the win, the block, and the pass. And then I went to the base entity blueprint and created a function called active effects and put in the effects into a switch node, and then I was able to use uh, all the different effects. So for the push, I created a I created a variable which is able to be which I'm using to which I'm using to manipulate without actually, what is it? Not, is it this one? No. Without actually disrupting the code that's in the the interactable box. But for the push, I set interactable to true. When disabled, set it to false. Set can't enter, and then I changed the tile type and updated it so then it changes into the win tile. And for the block, interactable is false, and then you can't enter it, so it's just a wall now. And then the can enter or the pass, turn off interactable, but you still can enter it, so it stays there. And then I go to the entity interact. I leave all of this the same, except I go here before I check. After it sees that the tile can be entered, I check to see if interactable is true or not before I go to toggle interact. And that's because this is the main variable I'm planning on manipulating, so I don't have to change all the other code in it. So this just gives it a simple way I can manipulate it through the activate effects. And also in this entity interactable box, I created three functions. I originally made this in one of the effects blocks, but I figured that since I'm going to be using it multiple times, I should make it into a function that into the parent of the blocks so that it can be used multiple times. And for all four of the directions, I got the current tile that the block is in, got its neighbors, and then I found which direction that I wanted to find. So for this one, I chose up, and then I got the current entity in that. and then I checked to make sure that it to see if it was an NC2 player, and if it's not, that's when I set it to the current entity that the block, the neighbor, the block's neighbor, because I don't want the I don't want the block to be the neighbor to be the player. Its neighbor to be the player. So I did that for all four directions, and then that's how I get all of the entities of the neighboring tiles. And then for the activate effects, this is the sequence, so I can do this one I use for the effects blocks. So I'm only looking for the up and the left side of the na of the effects blocks, because the effects blocks is what is affecting the object. Like object is what the effect is. So I got the current tile and got its neighbors for the up and the left side of the block. Then got what entity is in those directions, and then I check to see if the tag is. And so for the is block, I put a tag on it so that it's able to be recognized. So if the is block has the is tag, the effects blocks have the results tag. What is it? Have the results tag, and then these the purple and the blue block, which are the objects, have the object tag. Nope, it should have the object tag. It should have the object tag. And so check, and if it has the object tag, I continue to get the whatever that current entity is and get the current tile and its neighbors, and then find the up version of that so that I can access what the object is. So when I go to the results blocks, I go find the up or the left side and see if it's an is block, and then continue in that same direction and find the neighbor of the is block. So if I have the effects block under the is block, I go up, find the is block, and from the is block up and find the object. So, and then get its current entity that's in the up neighbor of the is block. And then I get all actors of that class, so everything that's in the world that is the neighbor of the is block, I'm able to affect. And then these are all the entities that are tagged. Yeah, all the entities for it. And then to check if this is an is block, to give me some sort of confirmation that what I'm going to is an is block or not. So another sequence, so I can go both sides. So I'm looking for either the top neighbor or the left neighbor. This is also going to be for the 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 effects, for the effect blocks. And so I see if it has the tag is, and if it's false, I get it's not an is block for both of them. But if it's true, I get the actor of class, which is the is block, and then I put it into the return node. So this is these are what I'm looking for, and then I print string, and I print the string that left is an is block, up is an is block. And in the is block, I created a custom event so that it can be checked by these other by the effects blocks just to make sure I'm getting what I'm looking for. Where is it at? Here in the is block, I created two functions just to check if the left and from left to right is a sentence or from up to down is a sentence. So I get the left neighbor and the right neighbor, check and make sure that it's an object and a result. And if they're both true, I set is a sentence, and if it's false, I get no horizontal sentence since this is from left to right. And then, and if it is true after it's sentence set, I print horizontal string so you know that that's what it is. And then I call the BPI, the interface event of the right effect block, so that when it gets called, it affects it. So this is what it'll call right here, and then all this runs. And that's the same thing for the up to down. But instead now it's going from top to bottom, and it's the same exact way. In this, I before I did use the event tick so that it was constantly checking for if it was checking all its neighbors constantly to make sure to see if it was a sentence or not. But now I was able to do it every time that something interacts and moves into its neighbor. And so yeah, I get all the neighboring entities when it's interacted with, when I interact with it, and then I call these two functions to see if it's a sentence or not. And then for these blocks, for these blocks, that sentence check right there, it will be calling. That's what it's calling. And then it goes through the same exact thing up here. So on the event, and then for the effect blocks, which is the push, the pass, the stop, and the win, you interact with it, get all neighboring entities of it, have to, and then all the effect blocks, all the effect blocks are interactable from the start. So you do that just to make sure that those are always going to be interactable with. And so you're never not going to be able to push those. And that's the same thing for the is block up here. For these, you have to set these so they can move from the beginning. When you interact with it, you get all the neighboring entities, and then you check to see if if it is an is block, which is the white one. And then if they are, all you go right. If it is an is block, go and check and see if it is a sentence, and that's what's called over here. And then you go through and activate effects on all the blocks, that are the objects that's in the sentence. And so they all have their own ending. So this one, so if the push block, it affects the push. The pass one says pass, the stop one says stop, and the win says win. And that is it. I hope you like my mechanic. Thank you.